Laura Ray, and today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to put drugstore and luxury makeup to the test to see which one lasts longer and which one looks best at the end of the day. We hear all the time that luxury makeup, oh, I buy it because it lasts longer or because it looks better. So that's what we'll be testing out today. For the drugstore look, I'm starting with sunscreen. So many of you have asked me, what am I using? I've been trying out some different mineral sunscreens. Now, this isn't exactly a drugstore price. It's around $22, but I wanted to show it to you today because I think it's amazing, and it's from Prequel. Now, this is a company started by a YouTuber, but she's a doctor, Dr. Samantha Ellis, and I first heard about this company from Mary Ellen, my friend Mary Ellen, over 60. This is such a beautiful formula. I love the way it makes my skin look, even on its own. And it just has such a light feel. And I find that it works amazingly under makeup. So it doesn't have that thick texture that a lot of drugstore sunscreens have. It doesn't have any milky white cast either. So I like that about it. And again, I'm very sensitive. I have sensitivities to sunscreen, and this works amazingly for me. Let's stop for a moment and just see how my skin looks with this sunscreen. I love it. It makes the makeup look a little more luminous. So instead of using some kind of like Hollywood Flawless filter like Charlotte Tilbury, I would much rather use a sunscreen that gives that kind of luminosity and gives sun protection. Next, let's go with the eyes. I think a great affordable eye primer is the Wet n Wild Mega Last. It's super inexpensive. I find that it's not super drying on my lids. Some of the more affordable ones I find will just dry up my lids and make everything look very crepey. So I'm just going directly on with my finger. This isn't really one I feel I need brushes for because there's not color to it. If I were using a paint pot or something like that, I love to spread it out with brushes. But for this formula, because of the texture of it, I just apply it with my fingers. While that's drying, I like to go in with my brow product, the Thick n Wow from Essence. This really does thicken up my brows. I'm in the shade Caramel Blonde, and just like you would with mascara, I sort of wipe the brush off. It tends to pick up a little too much product, and then just go in, and I go one direction with the brows, sort of let it dry, and then go back the opposite way. So I go this way, and then back like this. And then if you get any parts where there a chunk of product comes out or anything, let it dry, and then just take a spoolie like this and just sort of brush through it. I wanted to mention too that the sunscreen just feels like a moisturizer. I can feel it on my skin right now. It has really no tackiness to it. Just maybe a tiny bit, which I think will be great for gripping the makeup. Now, several of you asked me after a video, does the Queen Bee Peeper Keeper Balm destroy your under eye concealer? And for me, it doesn't. I don't find that it ruins it. This gives so much moisture to the under eyes, and I just press this in. I'm going to do this before I apply my serum that I'm going to use today. I like to do this before I apply my foundation or under eye concealer. I've been using the Drunk Elephant De Bronzy drops, and I really like them, but I was looking for something much more affordable. So I found these, the W7 Golden Glow Drop. I've been using them, and really I'm enjoying them, and I'll be mixing them into my Catrice Tinted Serum. Now, this is wonderful. I've shown it before. What I found is I bought a shade that was too light. So I ordered a new one, the 040 very end so that it would be a little bit deeper. And what I found with these bronzy type drops is they really don't change the color of your foundation. It's not like it's going to darken it so much, but you do get either a golden or bronzy look depending on the formula. They have some drops that are more golden, and then they have some that are more bronze. Now, e.l.f. just came out with some new drops that I've ordered, and I'll be showing them coming up. The order should be here any moment, so I'm really excited about that. But I just put my Catrice here and put like a little squirt of this and then mix it really good with my clean fingers. I like mixing the drops into my serum or foundation rather than going onto the skin first. I'll be using some new brushes that are very affordable. They're from Profusion. This is the Buffing Foundation brush. It's number FD1. I love the way this brush feels on my face. Some brushes can be so irritating. The fibers on these are really soft. And these brushes are super affordable. I love the way this Catrice looks on its own, but I think these drops just take it up a notch, especially for spring and summer when you're trying to get that glow, but you're not a person that's going to be laying out in the sun. Now, I get out in the sun as far as for walks, but I'm always wearing usually a hat. I'm always wearing sunscreen, and I'm not going out for long periods of time. I never sunbathe. I don't even sit by a pool. I mainly go out for exercise. So for me, I might be out an hour or 45 minutes, but I'm also out walking to the car, walking into stores, doing those kind of things. So I am getting more sun in that way. But I'm really happy with the sunscreen, and I think that's partially why I'm getting this glow is because of the sunscreen. Now, I talked recently how I've been doing my eyeshadow first and then the foundation. I sort of mixed it up today, but I was so excited for you to see how this looked. All right, so there's the Catrice mixed with the W7 drops. I haven't used Profusion Shadow in quite a while. I have purchased it before. I've purchased their blushes. I love them. Well, this is their smoky palette, and I've had some of you comment about Profusion recently, so I thought I would buy some and we would try out a look. And I am going to school today, so I don't want anything too dramatic, so I'm going to go in and mainly use some of the neutrals and maybe a little bit of the plum also, and we'll be using a plum liner. Now, I bought an eyeshadow set of brushes from Profusion, and this is a flat brush. This is perfect for applying shadow to the mobile lid. Let's go in with this lighter shade here. We'll start with that. I always like to start light and build. It's much harder to remove eyeshadow, much easier to build it. I think that shade looks really nice. Let's put a little bit of the plum on the side of the eye. I think that would look really nice. Let's go in with this flat brush to add a little more dimension to the eye. This is the flat, precise eyeshadow brush, and I'm just going into the plum, and we'll just put some on the outside and maybe get a little bit in my crease. I'm cleaning off my brush in between. Usually I have double sets of brushes and I'll go in to blend with a clean brush, but I don't have two sets of these. I wanted to try them out first, so I'm using a switch to sort of clean things up. This kit has shimmers in it too. I think this shade here is so beautiful. Let's go in and put a little bit. It's sort of a champagne-y beige. Let's put that on to the center. I have this larger brush that's clean. It's a setting powder brush, and I'm just going to go over the edges and just sort of blend everything. Sometimes I have to take a brush because my eyes are so deep set and go in and push into that deep hollow there, right? The back of the crease is so far back, it's almost impossible for me to get back there with my fingers. So I'm going into that, and then I'll just blend everything again. That's a little dramatic for school, but once I get the rest of the makeup on, and I'll go a little less dramatic with that, I think it'll all come together. This is the Glimmer Stick from Avon in Majestic Plum. These liners are long-lasting, fantastic. I'll just be gliding across the eye. I like to take a flat brush like we used earlier, or a smudger brush, and just go along the lash line. For mascara today, I'm using the L'Oreal Panorama. I really do think this mascara looks great on the lashes. I like the cone shape of the wand, and I like to go this way also to get the lashes to stand up a little bit. I just go back and forth until I feel I've got enough on and I like the look. I think this is plenty, really opens the eyes. Now, I have an under eye brightener that I want to share with you, the Revolution Eye Bright Correct. And I bought a new shade. I had bought a deeper one before. This is in the shade light to medium. And I'm going to go in the inner corner and the outer corner. And then we're going to blend from there. I'm going to use that flat setting powder brush from Profusion because this will be great for blending this out. And this is a wonderful alternative to using the Becca Smashbox Under Eye Brightener. Now, I'm sure someone will ask me, do you like it better than the Catrice? Because I've talked so much about that. I think this is a little bit creamier than the Catrice, a little more of a wet formula. This reminds me, I think, maybe even closer to the Becca. So as I use it longer, I'll be able to give you better feedback on that. But that's my initial feeling, is that this seems a little more emollient than the Catrice. So I'm just leaving that in the inner outer corner, and then I'll dab a little bit under the eye just to brighten the whole thing up. I want to even bring it into the cheekbone area. That really helps when you have deep set eyes like mine, or if you feel you look tired, it can really brighten you up a little bit. I repurchased this palette from NYX. This is one I had a long time ago, but it was great. And I really wanted a nice contour palette with everything in front of me, and many of them are very expensive. They're at least $50, $60, $70, $80. This one's super affordable, so I'll be using it today. And I'm reaching into this round tapered powder brush from Profusion. This was part of the set. Let's go into this color because it's more of a gray, less warmth and more gray, more of a true contour. And I keep my contour very high. If I do it like I used to, I talked about this in my makeup blunders video, it just really drags my face down. And I already have lost a lot of fat in my face just from over time and weight loss. So I feel like contour needs to be very minimal for me, just to bring out more of the shape of my face and not to do too much to it. And even though this isn't bronzer, I like to bring a little warmth up to the top of my head. You could use this for the nose. I would recommend using a very small brush and then just going down the sides. Now my nose is more of a bulb shape, so I like to do like a little V at the tip if I'm contouring, just to give a little more of a point. And we could put a little underneath the lips just to give them a little poutier look. I repurchased this blush. It's one of my favorites from CoverGirl that they've ever had. I don't hear anyone ever mention it anymore. This is from their True Blend line. It's in the shade Love Me, and it just has a luminosity that looks very luxe. I think it's one of their best blushes that they've ever come out with. And I feel like this is a universally flattering shade, that this shade would look great on anyone. You can really build it up to be pretty intense. I'm going on very softly today, but you could definitely build it up, especially if you have a deeper skin tone than mine. You could go a lot heavier with this, but I'm just gonna apply it pretty softly. For highlight, let's go back to that NYX palette and just go into one of the highlights here. I'm just rubbing my finger over it and tapping it. Now, another option would be to go back to the Queen Bee Peeper Keeper that I put under my eyes and use that as your highlighter. What I like about this, you can even mix it with the powder like I'm doing, is you get that beautiful highlight. I just rub a little bit on my finger and just tap right into the skin. And this gives such a beautiful glow. I mentioned before that Bobbi Brown always used on her clients Vaseline, but that can be so sticky where your hair starts sticking to it. I've tried it many times, but this I love because my hair doesn't stick to it. It's got great ingredients, so it keeps that area that tends to look dry during the day around the eyes. It keeps it holding on to the moisture. Today I'm using this Longwear lip pencil in Rose. I love their pencils. I think they're long lasting. The shades are gorgeous. I'm going to just go ahead and fill in the whole lip. Such a beautiful shade. I've been trying several ColourPop products, and I'm really excited about this one. It's called the Glowing Lip, and it's the shade Let's Jet. These are balmy, shiny, just really beautiful. This is such a great option instead of putting on a shiny kind of lip gloss that's more tacky. This has more of a lip balm moisturizing feel to it. It's not sticky, yet you get all the shine. I have a powder that's not new, but I'm having it make a comeback. It's from Physicians Formula. It's their airbrushing powder. This is beautiful. I bought it in the shade beige. There's a lot we can do with this to finish off the look. I'm cleaning the flat setting powder brush off, and let's do this. First off, let's go in and blend our shadow even a little bit more. I want to add a little bit of this to this area just to sort of set the eye. And it'll give a little bit of color because it's in beige to this area of the eye that was just showing skin. I really like how that finished off the look. It made the eyes look more airbrushed. Now I'm going to go in certain parts of my face and powder, like around the nose. It's a little shiny there, and just touch up any areas where I think the foundation might move around a little bit. I'm going to go over the face one last time with a clean brush. I don't have any more of the Profusion, so I'm just grabbing this one I have from Sonia Kashuk because I just want to make sure that powder and everything is all blended well. Before we end this look, let's go in with this No Filter setting spray from ColourPop. I've been trying this out. I'm going to go right onto that Sonia Kashuk brush and just sort of press everything in. I'm barely dabbing. I'm just not a fan of spraying it right on my face like they do the X and all that. I just get it into my eyes. It's just uncomfortable for me, so I prefer setting with a clean brush. This is the final look for Drugstore. Let me know which product was your favorite. Now it's 6:09 in the morning. I am about to leave for school. I'm going to come back around 3:45 or so, and see how the makeup held up. I'm back from work. I think the foundation held up beautifully. I think it looks great. It's been a long day and everything held up. The eye look, the mascara, the lipstick I did, of course, have to reapply, but it lasted for hours. Having that lip pencil underneath really made a huge difference. Let's take a look at the blush. It definitely held up. I think everything, for as long as I've had it on, has held up beautifully. For the high end, let's start with this sunscreen from Tula. It's their Mineral Magic. I think this looks beautiful on my skin. It's a nice weight, nice and thin. It plays well under makeup, and I like the luminosity that it gives. That really adds a little bit of beauty to the skin underneath any foundation that I apply. This dries quickly. It doesn't have a white cast to it. You can see right now as I'm getting a little bit shimmer to my skin. And again, this is a mineral sunscreen that doesn't cause me any allergic reaction. That's really important. And you need a sunscreen that will play well under your makeup, and this does. So I usually put 3 fingers full. I bring it down to the neck and just make sure that everything's covered well. You can even take a makeup brush at the end and sort of just make sure everything's covered. That's sometimes easier to spread that way. I know people worry about losing product, wasting product, but sometimes it's hard to get up under the eyes and around the hairline, and I find that a brush really helps. Besides sunscreen, I really like to have my lips hydrated before I do any lipstick or lip lining. I have thought very carefully about this. I've probably tried at least 50 different types of lip masks, and my all-time favorite, I'm going to put it out there, is Sarah Happ. She has one called the Lip Slip, and this is her new version of it. And it's just different than Laneige and the other brands. It's a little thicker. It's got this iridescence to it that looks pretty on the lips. It makes them look fuller, poutier. So I still think this is the absolute best. Now again, this is luxury. It's a little pricey, but I feel it's worth every penny. It really does stay on the lips. When I wake up in the morning, I will still have this on. So you can wear it during the day too. You can put some on top of lipstick. You would just really need a thin amount. Even this, what I put on was too much. I feel like I need to take a little off. You really don't need much, and this just lasts so long. I do wear this on its own. It's so beautiful. One of my go-to primers for luxury is from Urban Decay. It's Sin. This is like an eyeshadow on its own. You could just use this. I want to show you how pretty this looks. I'm taking my BK Beauty brush, and this has a shimmer to it, see there? But it is a great primer. So you can see why I said you could use it as an eyeshadow too. So this is like a 2-in-1. I think this shade is just so pretty. When I first bought this a couple of years ago, I was really surprised because I didn't realize it would look like an eyeshadow. I just expected a primer. But this is almost like a cream eyeshadow, but it really does keep the shadows on. For brows, I'm going in with this Anastasia. It's in the shade Taupe, and I have an Anastasia brush. I use the lightest shade at the front of the brow, like this. And then I use that light shade all the way through the brow up until I get towards the tail. Then I'm going to go in with the deeper shade. If you have a hard time finding your shade in other powders or other brow products, that's one thing great about Anastasia, because they have so many shades. You can usually find one that works for you. Let's go ahead and bring those eyes to life. I'll be using this palette from Dior. I've had it for a little while. It's one that I admired for a long time. I wanted to try it to see what Dior shadows are like and if I could replicate them with more affordable products. Let's go in to this matte shade here, and I'm using a much beloved brush today that some of you purchased too. It's the Jillian Dempsey brush. It's a fan brush, but made for eyeshadow application, and it's just gorgeous. It gives a very diffuse look. It works perfectly for my deep set eyes. I can get far back into the eye. I think it's great for those of you with hooded eyes too, because if you have a hooded eye, we have something in common. We are like sisters, because I have to create a crease too. My crease is so far back, and your crease is probably hidden by skin. So I do the same thing that a hooded girl would do, which is go into the powder and bring the powder up above where my eye is when it's open. And that way I create a crease and bring up the shadow so it's not hidden by my deep set eyes. What I love about this brush is it makes everything look airbrushed. Really beautiful. I just take the fan, go here, and just bring it up. It's so simple to use. Let's go into this deeper shade. I'm going to use the edge of the brush like you would an eyeliner and just go right along the lash line. It's so soft looking. That's what I love about this brush. It really creates a very soft look. For underneath the eye, we'll go into this. It's a slight shimmer. These Dior shadows have such a slight shimmer to them. That's why I think they really are great for mature eyes. And we'll just blend all of this out. And I'm also cleaning my brush in between. I have a little towel here. I also have a switch that I like to go into and just clean in between. But I have two of these brushes. This sort of coppery shade here is really beautiful. I'm going to mix these and go into the side of the eye. So you really have a mixture here of warmer shades and cool shades. I think overall this palette is great for mature eyes because the shadows apply very thinly and they're so buildable. And with this brush, it allowed me to get a very soft, diffuse look that works perfect for mature eyes. This is one of my favorite eyeliners. It's from Lancome. It's their Le Stylo waterproof liner, and this is in the shade Vision Ivy. It's a metallic green, and I just love it because it's got a real smoky look to it. It has a sponge applicator if you like to use that for blending. I prefer to use my BK Beauty brush 208 that I talk about. It's a little slant brush, and it allows me to sort of pull up on the edge and get a little tiny wing. So I'm just going to go right along the lash line where I placed that brown, and then take the 208 and just smudge it up. BK Beauty also has a smudger brush. This is the 204. This works great too. You can really get into the lash line and smudge things out. I think that's a great way to line your eyes. I do find with this pencil that I need to work quickly because it does dry down. So you don't want to put the liner on one eye, the other eye, and then go back and work. I have to do one eye at a time because it will dry down fast, which I like because this is going to last all day. This shade is matte ochre, and another thing you can do is get product on that smudger brush, go in that outer V area, just to add a little more intensity, dimension to the eye. And I'm going to go right into the crease with that too. This palette actually has a primer in it, a cream primer. I don't often use it because I have so many that I like, but it does have that. And now I'm just going to blend this a little better. I'm going to take a Q-tip, some micellar water, and just clean up under the eyes before we put on our mascara. Let's use this Lancome mascara to finish off the eyes. I do like this brush. It's a curved brush, and we'll just get right in those lashes. I use the tip of the curve to get down closer to the lash line, and then go back with the brush and go through the lashes. Let's go in with this brand new diffusion dew. This is from Make Beauty, and it's called their Radiant Skin Tint. I've been really enjoying this. It's a nice thin product and gives me enough coverage where I feel like my redness isn't showing, but doesn't hide my skin. Let's take one of my favorite brushes from Nikki LaRose, the N17, and I'm just going to tap into it. Now you're going to see it looks much darker than my skin, but as it sinks in, it becomes one with the skin and the color really works out. It just looks like I have a nice tan going. I don't sunbathe. I'm only out in the sun basically to walk and exercise or dance on the beach. But I never sunbathe. I haven't since I was maybe a teenager and we started learning the dangers of that. But I do live in Florida, and so I always make sure to wear my sunscreen, and I wear hats. I have all kinds of things that I do, like I mentioned before. What I like about this, it doesn't get in my forehead lines. It just looks like it's my own skin. So these formulas are really beautiful that they're coming out with now that do that. They don't look heavy. I think they make my skin look younger in the respect that my skin doesn't look weighed down like it does with a full coverage, heavier foundation. I am going to come up under the eyes. I've found that this works great in the under eyes. And just bring it down to the neck so that everything blends. I'm going to take another clean brush from Nikki LaRose and just sort of go over everything. We'll just take off anything that's extra on the skin. Let's take a look at how my skin looks now with it on. I don't have many high-end bronzers anymore because there's so many great affordable ones. I had the Fenty, but it had expired. It was a cream bronzer. So I have this one from Buxom that's really beautiful that I bought a little while ago. Let's go ahead. I'll use my BK Beauty 104 and we'll just bronze up a little bit. I really don't feel like I need to because this shade is very bronzy. I think I felt like I always needed bronzer when my foundation was so light. But now that I'm wearing a little deeper shades, I don't really feel like I need bronzer so much. But we'll put a little bit on just to add a little shape to the face. This is really pretty. I've loved this a lot. I even put it on my cheeks like blush. So some days I do that. I have a new blush to share with you. It's from Rare Beauty. This is their powder blush in the shade Cheer. And this is their new one. You can see how luminous it is. It has the luminosity to it. And I think you'll really like it. I have been enjoying this. It's just really beautiful. Has a nice shimmer. When I use this, I don't apply highlighter because it's quite enough already. Let's go in with this Hourglass concealer. I'm just going to put a little here. I bought a very light shade when I bought this, so let's use it strategically in the inner and outer corner, just to give a little light to the eyes. And then I'll just put a little bit in the under eye. That definitely brightened me up. I'm just taking what's left on the brush and just going in and sort of highlighting some areas. I'm going to take that foundation brush that I used and just go back a little bit with what products left on there to blend that. And we are going to go in with a couple of lip products. This one I really like. It's the Kiss Kiss Lip Lift. The purpose of this is to be a primer, but also to cancel out your natural lip color. So when you apply your lipstick, it looks like what's in the tube. You can see how deep my lips are. You can see my natural shade of my lips is deeper. Some people have like bright cherry. Some people have paler lips. Mine are very mauvey. So when I apply certain lipsticks, pretty much any lipstick, it never looks like it does in the tube. So if you go on with this, it helps to cancel out the color that you have. Now, how is this different from using a concealer? I have found concealers can be drying on the lips. This is very moisturizing, so it is like putting a primer on to help the lipstick go on smoothly. It's not just for canceling out lip color. I'll be using this new lip pencil from Charlotte Tilbury. It's her Lip Cheat in Icon Baby. Look at how having this primer makes the pencil slip. Let's apply this lipstick from YSL. I bought this during the holidays. I wanted to compare it with some drugstore lipsticks. It's beautiful. Of course, the packaging is so elegant. To finish off the look, I'm going in with this powder from Hourglass. I recently purchased this. I heard so many great things about it. This is their translucent powder, and I'm just lightly powdering the areas where I think they look a little shiny or the makeup may wear off quickly. What I like about this powder is it's so fine. I can powder under the eyes, finger powder, and it doesn't get thick or cakey. So our look's done. I'll be out and about today. I'll come back this afternoon and we'll see how this makeup holds up. I've had the makeup on for a couple of hours, but my husband and I are going to go out for a walk right now. So I switched shirts, and when I was getting ready, I thought, I never put on setting spray. That's not really fair because for the affordable makeup, I put on setting spray. So I'll use this one from Charlotte Tilbury. I really love this one. I've used it for quite a while. I am going to take a clean brush, and again, I don't like spraying it on my face so much. I'm going to go into the BK Beauty brush and just dab it on. It's so hot all of a sudden here in Florida. We went from cold days in North Florida, meaning the 50s, 40s sometimes, all the way up to 70s and 80s. I think it's going to get up to around 81 today. And we'll be outside walking. So I want to make sure that I give this makeup a fair shake. But let's just see how it looks with the setting spray on. I've used this Charlotte Tilbury setting spray before. They say it helps your makeup last up to 16 hours. So I have found it really works well. I love the look of it on the skin. It's not tacky. Once that dries down, you don't even feel it on your skin, and I just think it's wonderful. Now I'm going to head out for my walk, and I'll see you later today. It's been about 8.5 hours since I first applied the high-end makeup. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Now look at the eyeshadows. Don't they still look beautiful? I think the Dior palette held up beautifully. To me, they look just as gorgeous, maybe even prettier now because they've really mixed with the primer and the oils in my eyes. And I just think it's a beautiful palette. The skin tint is not in any of my fine lines. The color's still there. It doesn't look patchy. It looks great on the forehead. So I think this held up really well. I've used setting spray off and on, but it's so humid where I live. It really helps make the makeup stay on so much better. I like it so much better than throughout the day having to apply powder. Now, speaking of powder, what did you think of the Hourglass? It's still, I can see it on my skin. My skin's not quite as shiny. It took a lot of the shine off. I thought that it blurred my pores some. In here is where I tend to have more trouble with pores, and I thought that it did a really great job with that. Now the bronzer that I put on, the Staycation Vibes, it's a primer infused bronzer from Buxom. It's still there. Everything stayed on, and it was 82 today, and my husband and I went for about an hour walk, and it was so hot. I can't believe how well this makeup stayed in place considering the temperatures. And I'm really glad that I had this sunscreen on because we were out in direct sunlight for almost an hour on the walk. So I definitely needed that. That came in handy. Let's look at the mascara. I don't see any in the under eyes, no flaking, none of that. So this worked really well. The blush, the Rare Beauty blush, what do you think? I think it held on to the skin pretty well. I can see everything. I love the luminosity of this. It's just so beautiful. The lips, of course, I had to reapply. I had lunch, I had coffee, I've had a lot of things since I was on camera, and water too. So I did have to reapply this. It is one that you will have to reapply anytime you eat or drink for sure. But the lip pencil really helped to keep it on much better than by itself. And of course, today I had on the primer. So that I think was helpful too. Now the Hourglass concealer, I think my eyes still look pretty bright. I think that did a good job as well. So overall, everything I used, including the Anastasia, let's take a look at the brows. Everything's still there. I still have my tail. So this powder, even though I didn't go over it with any kind of brow gel that would really seal it in, I think it still did a great job. One last thing, the eyeliner. I still see all of it on my eyes. It didn't smudge, budge. It is a waterproof liner. It's a little more money, but I feel like this Lancome is so worth it. And this shade is just so beautiful. As I said, the green that it is, it's almost a gray green. So I really like that because it gives some intensity to the eyes without being too much. And let me know what you thought of this eyeshadow primer. I think it's beautiful. You can see sort of the sparkle coming up underneath. It's great if you just want a nice little shimmer to the eyes. It's not glittery. So that's true of this palette too. Everything in this Dior palette is just a shimmer. There's no glitter in any of it, so that I can see. It's just so pretty and so thin. These shadows are just great for mature eyes because they really are thin and you just build up the color gradually. Sometimes when I see other people do videos or do them myself where it's half and half, even though they're next to each other, it's sort of hard to tell. I thought it would be great to see a full face of each and then compare on the screen once everything's done. And then, of course, also to see how they were at the end of the day. I think both of them held on really well. And part of that was the application and definitely the use of setting spray. That's a game changer, whether it's luxury or affordable. There's so many great ones on the market. Remember that you can mix setting spray into your concealers, into foundations, serums, all these products that you're using to help them last a long time. It really does make a difference. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did and you're not subscribed to my channel, I'd love to have you here. And if you're a regular, if you give the video a thumbs up, I really appreciate it. That lets me know that you enjoyed the video. I hope you have a blessed and beautiful week. I love you all, and I'll see you soon.